Yebo, linjani Mahlabe Zulu. The Torah claims God inspired the assembling and the manufacture of the Ark of the Covenant to Moses on Mount Sinai, presenting this as a divine unprecedented design or technology. Yet the archaeological record tells a different story. Once this story is proved to be correct, that the Ark was not an original revelation but an inheritance from a prior civilization, to be polite, then the hard question would be, why does the Torah claim God inspired it? Let us look at this. Long before Exodus 25 was penned, the Nile Valley and broader African civilizations were housing divine presence in gilded portable shrines and temples. The stone city of Hami in Zimbabwe, Mapungubwe, the great walls of Benin, and the Ethiopian liturgical traditions and artifacts and architectures now adopted by the Orthodox Church of Ethiopia preserve tablet arcs and echo a technological lineage that predates Sinai, but the most documented photographed proof on this sits in Northeast Africa in Hami, in Tutankhamun's tomb. We cannot run away from the facts that by 1423 BCE, before any Exodus date, Hamit had already standardized the Ark's exact architecture. You can go and see these in the museum. The canopic shrine, object number 266, described exactly like what you read in the Torah, gilded wooden chest, four-winged protective goddesses facing inward, wings spread over sacred contents. Then you can see also the Anubis shrine, object number 261, gilded wooden chest on a sledge with carrying poles, divine figure manifesting presence atop. Then you can see the golden shrine, object number 108, wooden shrine completely covered in gold, carried as the house of divine power. These African artifacts existed. The Torah later describes in Exodus 25:10 to 22, gilded box with measurements in cubits, rings, poles, cherubims with wings facing inward, as if it was new. Yet it was not new. It was an African tradition and African artifact. Before Moses, African temples existed. They had a technology which was perfected in terms of how it worked. Carvings at Karnak in Luxor, Bak shrine at Setis I's temple, at Abydos show all the wooden bakis mounted on poles carried on priests' shoulders through ring housing the divine. And during the Opet festival, the baki of Amen was consulted. The deity spoke from the ark. It is very important to notice this fact because every operational element of the ark already existed in Africa. And this technology, temple technology, was over 1,000 years before Moses. So when you read in Numbers 7 verse 89, that Moses entered the tent of meeting to speak with the Lord, and he heard the voice speaking to him from between the two cherubim above the atonement cover on the Ark of the Covenant. Then you think this is a miracle. But here, during the Opet festival, the Baki of Aman was consulted. Aman spoke from the Ark 1,000 years before Moses was even there to write anything. So, when you look at the revealer of this story, Moses, he was educated in Africa, adopted in African priesthood. When you read Acts 7:22, read that Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Africans. That wisdom included sacred architecture, goldsmithing, and the theology of portable shrine houses and portable bakis. Moses did not go up Mount Sinai as an empty person with nothing in his head to receive some technology or alien technology or divine technology. He ascended as an African educated royal who had spent his life around arks that already existed. Remember, Israel spent 430 years in Hamit, per Exodus 12 verse 40. 4 centuries of African learning, African cultural absorption. The ark was not reviewed. It was remembered or plagiarized or stolen from African prototypes. So when you read Exodus 31, verse 1 to 6, that tells you about Bezalel being filled with the Spirit of God, having wisdom, ability to and expertise in all kinds of crafts. You think you are reading somebody who was actually inspired, and even Oholiab, his assistant, all the craftsmen who were given these skills. You think, oh, these people were inspired. But African craftsmen already mastered these divine skills before Abraham ever walked on the earth. So they were known as Perennefer, royal workshop skills. The fact that the Spirit of God is thought to have filled this man with the African trade skills tells you a truth here. Hamit had these centuries before Bezalel. The wood overlaid with gold, capacitor structure, the electrostatic properties. This explains the death while touching it, from touching it, because the non-conductive acacia poles, which our priests used to carry it, proves that this was electronic, an electrical gadget. The technology already existed in Africa before the Torah credited Yahweh or Bezalel. Bezalel was not performing any miracles here. He was not filled by any spirit here. He was simply applying the innate craft knowledge and repeating what they had already seen and known and learned in our mystery schools, so-called university schools. After Sinai, the African prototypes endure. The inspired ones by God vanishes. Solomon's temple gone 370 years. His second temple gone 585 years. The ark is gone missing. It's nowhere today. Yet the African prototypes that predated all this,
the evidence is clear.
They are still there.
Its origin
in
is
the
African.
Cairo Museum today. The Canopic Shrine, Anubis Shrine, the Golden Shrine, all survive. The artifacts that prove that the ark was not original still exist in Africa. The ark does not exist today. Africa built the template in stone and the wood gold that endures. The Revelation built a copy that has vanished. So what's going on? Because what's going on is this. The chronology that we have gives us unavoidable conclusions. For millennia before Moses, Hamit, Mazimbabwe, West Africa, East Africa, Ethiopia had a tradition of shrines that also gave birth to the concept of the ark. It's African. 4,560 years BCE onward, Hamit, Kush, Zimbabwe built temples in stone that lasts. 3,450 BCE, Rakumire's craftsmen are known and seen on walls, documenting the same skills that you read about Bezalel in Exodus 25. And when you look at Tutankhamun's artifact that were found in his grave, it's very, very clear that they match Exodus 25 exactly. And we know who copied who. Because Moses was an African educated person who led a people with 430 years of African immersion to build what Africa had already built before. There, very clear, straightforward. So archaeological evidence that we have today is a physical proof of prior art and ability and knowledge with the design specifications, proportions, and construction techniques that have now become identical with Exodus. So who copied who? Your reasoning cannot be challenged by such a question. It's very clear that the ark was not an original revelation.
The evidence is
but
clear.
African
its origin is
plagiarized knowledge. This is an established truth. That question the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran followers face is, why does it claim God inspired this? Like when you read in the Majority Standard Bible, Exodus 25. Why? Because we already know our priests carried this prior to anybody else. So if the design existed in Africa for millennia, did Yahweh originally inspire the Africans and forgot to mention it in the Bible? Or a people immersed in African civilization reframed the African sacred technology as their own divine revelation? The archaeological record proves that that's the answer. That's what happened. Because the artifacts already existed in Africa before Sinai. The text claims otherwise, but we know they plagiarized. The ark was African by design and discovery. The design was African. The technology was African. The craftsmen were African trained, and they did it in Africa. The leader was African educated. The Torah says God, Yahweh, revealed it. These two positions cannot be correct. Only one is correct. And the choice for you is discover which one is correct. The behavior of the ark that we read in the Bible, the death by touching, death by improper approach, physical manifestations of the glory are not typical of wooden boxes. The voice that was heard and its physical location between two gold objects, not a general divine presence. And the description of the ark in battle, like in Joshua 6, walls of Jericho, 1 Samuel 4:6, the ark in Philistine hands causing plague, suggest it had active physical effects on the environment. The ark, when captured by the Philistines, caused tumors, a description consistent with radiation exposure, electrostatic effects, or biological contamination. All that which you have just heard me say, every specific feature of the ark that you have heard has a mundane, Hamitic parallel requiring no extraterrestrial explanation. The voice was already known to come in the festival of Obed. The death and physical effects reflect the real electrostatic and microbial contamination from this sacred object without requiring extraterrestrial origins. Ancient civilization who do not understand this, they would think that these are divine beings. Yet the baseline of human cognitive pattern is the evidence that this is an invention, a machine, a tool that our ancestors were gifted to make. The Ark of the Covenant was technologically sophisticated sacred object built within the tradition and a copy of African sacred craftsmanship. Whether it had unusual properties, electrostatic, acoustic, or otherwise, is true because our ancestors had extraordinary capacity and ability to build stuff. Just look at the pyramids. Just look at Great Zimbabwe. Just look at Mapungubwe. Just to look at those pyramids in the Sudan today. And then you won't have any doubt. We have lost a lot when we look at these devices. So what can we do? Let us be open-minded in our research, and let us continue to support, to follow, subscribe, and share Hamid Hebrew Ethics YouTube channel videos. We want to suggest also, and they say, we've got a book that we know will assist you in your research. No More Masters. This book lays out the full case, sources, and the evidences of you having masters today, like the people that tell you that they are God build the ark. Grab a copy or two and share with your loved one, so that they can also have a beginning, a step to start to research and prove things on their own. You can get this book from Amazon.com. The truth cannot be escaped, but it can be ignored. Don't ignore the truth. And I'm also promising that another book is going to come very shortly, before the end of this year, and it will be something that every person should read before they die. I guarantee you, more than anything, that once that book is in your hands, I don't want to tell you what will happen, but you see things happen. I'm your manager to be preacher by LM Tumizu Kunikadi Mjakanja, saying let us walk this journey together, and subscribe, share, and comment. Amen.